Hello, crafting friends. I'm Doreen DeCebus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. I'm so happy you're able to join me tonight as we create a really fun fold. I'm very excited about it. I'll tell you about that in just a few minutes. So I just have a little bit of show and tell. Made my first Christmas card this week with one of my stamping friends. She brought the materials over and we put it together. It doesn't have any current Stampin' Up product, but that's okay. It's still a beautiful Christmas card. Now, last week I asked during Fun Fold Friday for you to vote on what you wanted for this week's card, and the winner was the Inspiring Imperfections, and that is the set I'm going to be using tonight, and I'm also going to be using the More Messages set as well. So I thought I would just do a little show and tell with the Inspiring Imperfections, because these are 4 cards that I made this week. So here's the first one, using the bowls from the Designer Series paper. Just cut those out, cut out some of the flowers, embossed the background, used some of the flat pearls, and we came up with this. Love it. So pretty. Here is You're So Kind card. I just love the gold accents. This might be my favorite one. And this one I haven't put a sentiment on it yet because I haven't decided what I want to use for a sentiment. But I will be adding that later. So, before I show you tonight's card, I wanted to show you, I'm going to need some things with the More Messages, some of the sentiments. So, this is a really cool bundle. You can see I've already cut out some in Secret Sea ink and in Misty Moonlight. And we're going to do some more in Misty Moonlight so we can use what we're going to need for tonight. So, this is a pretty cool stamp set. All of the greetings are on the stamp set. So, there we go. That's what it looks like. You need the largest block to be able to stamp with it. And everything is on one block. And then we have all these dies. I mean, they're all one die, but they cut out all of the sentiments. So I thought I'd show you how that works. So I'm going to take my Misty Moonlight ink, because that's the color we're going to be using tonight. And I'm just going to ink up the entire stamp. There we go. You're going to need a little bit of a bigger piece of cardstock to fit this stamp. It does fit on a quarter sheet, but I find that I have a hard time making sure everything's lined up onto the cardstock. So I like to use a piece that measures 6 inches by 4.5. And I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but there's still some border around the paper, and that makes me more comfortable getting it all lined up. Now, you don't have to worry about any of the little embellishments that come with, inking up a large stamp, because it's all going to go away once we put this on. So I'm going to line this up so that everything is on it the way I want. And I can see that that one is going to be bothersome, but that's okay. We'll just toss that one. I still have a ton of great images that are going to be stamped nicely. It can also be a place to put an embellishment. So that's always great. Okay, so they all look like they're lined up. So I'm just going to put a piece of removable tape on this. Make sure I didn't move anything, just to hold it in place. And I'm going to get my emboss and die cut machine out. I'm going to put this in and then run it through the machine. And once you take them all out, so I'm going to just move these that have already cut themselves out. Once you take them all out, you have this great set of all of these images. You also have this kind of cool, I don't know if you could almost use this with the images if you pop them up as the front of a card. That might be kind of cool. But here we have all of these great sentiments. Way to go. You can do anything. You're simply incredible. I could put a bow there or a gem and fix that up. Happy birthday. Good luck. Oh, happy day. You're absolutely the best. Forever friends. Always here for you. Thanks a lot. Hi there. Time to celebrate. Hello, I adore you. Miss you. Congratulations. Lots of love. A note and hooray. So you get a really nice variety of sentiments. So we're going to be using one of these today. I think I'm going to pull a couple out there. I used Miss You on my sample card, and I don't want to do another Miss You. I might do Thanks a Lot, or Lots of Love. Time to Celebrate. Okay, so there we go. Now, I have made a lot of fun folds in my stamping days, and it is pretty rare for me to find a fun fold that I haven't seen before. But I have to say, I did in tonight's fun fold. So here's our fun fold. This is what it looks like using the beautiful Inspiring Imperfections bundle. And watch as I open it. It's called a Triptych gatefold fun fold card. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to have you look at it this way so you can see what it looks like when it's standing. Now, a Triptych card, or something that's Triptych, has 3 panels on it. So we have our 3 panels right here on our card. And it's held together by this frame at the bottom. And I also want to point out that the card opens up to a panel that you can write a message on. You could also include a panel up here, and you could include a panel back here if you're trying to write a longer letter. So it has the 2 main elements that make this all come together is this frame down here, this little piece right here. We'll close it. So I'm going to show you how to make it tonight. So when I close it, I'm going to put it underneath the label. I'm going to put those flowers underneath the label, and this is what it looks like all closed up. So a pretty cool card. All right, so let's get what we need and let's get started. I did some pre-cutting and some pre-cutting and some embossing. So this is the label from the Inspiring Imperfections bundle. We have some floral images that I have die cut. I have the cup, a tall vase, and a vase that I cut out of gold foil and embossed. So we have that that's already done for us. And we have a lot of paper that I'll go through. You're going to need a 3.5 by 3.5 square of gold foil paper to cut out gold accents and the gold vase. We're going to be doing this card in Misty Moonlight. And so the first piece that I need is 11 by 3 3/16. The 3/16 is important because it is going to fit that little mechanism that we make. And if it was smaller, it's not going to hold it all together. If it was bigger, it won't fit. So 11 by 3 3/16. You're going to need 2 pieces. So you're going to need 2 pieces that measure 11 by 1 3/4 inches. And these 2 pieces are going to be those sides, the side panels I showed you. This is going to be our mechanism. It measures 10 by 1.5. We're going to be scoring all of these pieces, but this is the big mechanism. This is the smaller mechanism that's going to close the gatefold card and hold the greeting, and this measures 4 by 1/2 inch. And then this is going to be a layer on the front of the card, and it measures 1 5/8 of an inch by 3 5/8 of an inch. Remember, I'm going to have all of these measurements in the comments on my Facebook post, and I'm going to have it in my in the description on my YouTube channel. All right, so we are going to need a piece of white cardstock that measures 1.5 by 3.5, and through the magic of TV, I have embossed that using the embossing folder that comes with the whole suite collection. We're going to need a piece of scrap white cardstock. This one in particular measures 2 by 5, and this is to measure to stamp the vases on. And then we need this piece. This is for the inside of the card, and it measures 3 inches by 5 1/4. And then for our designer series paper, we are going to need 2 pieces here. You can use any design. I'm using the design that has the gold foil on it and the Misty Moonlight flowers. And these 2 pieces measure 5 1/4 by 1.5. And then we have a bigger piece that measures 5 1/4 by 3. And those are the supplies that we need tonight to make the card. So let's start with doing our embossing, or maybe our, I'm going to show you these two images stamped. Let me do the stamping first, and then we can have that all out of our way. So on the inside of our card, I want to stamp one of the flowers. So let me just grab that Misty Moonlight piece of ink pad, and I'm going to just stamp that right here on the left hand side. Then on this piece here, I'm going to be stamping the vases that we're going to cut out. So I'm going to stamp the large vase, and then I'm going to stamp the smaller vase. And then I'm able to put this through my die cut machine in one swipe. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside because we're going to need them later. Set the stamps aside. And I'm going to get out my, let me just move the things I don't need. Everything here is going to be scored. So I'm just going to put all of that up. We'll get out our scoring tool and start scoring. So let's start with the easy scoring. So in my piece of cardstock that measures 3 3/16 by 11, I'm going to score this at 5.5. Each of these pieces that measure, I think it was, let me just look again, I think it was 1.5, but it might have been 1 3/4. 1 3/4 by 11, I'm also going to score at 5.5. And on this piece, it's going to be scored at 5.5 as well. Now, this little piece that measures 1/2 by 4 inches, it is going to be scored at, let me just look at my notes, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. So it's going to be scored at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. But I'm just going to turn that paper around, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. And then that is all scored. This one here, I'm going to start by scoring it in half at 3/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to turn it onto its side, and I am going to score it at 1 3/4 inches. Then I'm going to score it at 3 3/8. Then I'm going to score it at 6 5/8. And then the last score mark will be 8 1/4 inch. So there we go. Now let's do some work on this mechanism. So I'm going to line this up right on the score line, so at that 3/4 inch mark. And I am going to be cutting from the top, from the very first score line, all the way down to the very last score line. If you want inches for that, it's going to be scored from 1 3, it's not scored, cut from 1 3/4 inches to 8 1/4 inch. Now, having the score lines on here makes it really easy because I can line up this mark with that score line, and I can look over here and see that it's marked, it's at the 1 3/4 inch. So I'm going to come all the way down, and I have that opening right there. All right, that's all the scoring and cutting that we need to do. Now let's start folding things and getting them ready to go. So here is one of my 1 3/4 by 11 sheets. These are just getting folded in half. So here are my 3 panels of the card. And we can, while we're right here, put on add the designer series paper. I think any of the designer series paper would make this card look beautiful. That's in this package. And then we could put this piece on the inside that we previously stamped. And then this is the final piece that has some designer series paper on it. There we go. Okay, so now let's work on our two pieces. So for this, I am going to be folding it a valley, mountain, valley fold. And then the same thing, a valley, mountain, valley fold. So that these two little ends are up. So let's just go through and really give those nice burnishing, because as you know, anytime we are making a fun fold, you want to give everything a really nice burnish. And so this is what it's going to look like when it stands up. I think hopefully you can see that okay, how it gives that little bit of design. So I'm going to leave this right over here. Now for this piece, we're also going to be folding. So I'm going to be folding in and in. And I'm going to be folding in on this side as well. And you just have to be careful that you don't rip it when you're trying to, those pieces that are now. Let's get this. I'm going to fold and burnish these two ends as well. And then I'm going to adhere them together. So we'll add our adhesive on these little panels, and then we're going to fold that together. And then this is going to open up like this. And that's what our little piece looks like on the inside. That's going to hold everything. So these folded pieces are going to go around each end, and we're going to seal them shut. And we want this to be a double piece because we want the stability for the card. So instead of just putting up a single piece of cardstock with the designer series paper, we have this folded piece. So what I'm going to do is add some adhesive here. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add more adhesive here because this is kind of raised up a little bit. And I'm going to add some adhesive on the sides. And then we're going to close this over. And now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And add this piece. You just want to make sure when you're lining it up, you're lining it up right on the bottom. We'll add more adhesive. And then close that down. So now we have our first two of our panels. Okay. Now this panel is not going to be sealed. We're only going to attach the front to that. So I am, to make it easier to attach, I am going to add my adhesive to the front piece of the card. And then I can come in and put this right between the score lines and line it up right along the bottom. So now we have, and let me just give this another good burnish. Okay, so there we are with the card. And you can see that we can see the three panels now. Next is to decorate the card. So I'm going to set the card aside. I'm going to bring over the piece that I had embossed. And I'm going to add this to this piece of Misty Moonlight cardstock. Let me just make sure it's going to be even. And now we're going to start decorating. And once this is decorated and on the front, then we'll put the second little thing in. So I'm going to add some adhesive just to the bottom of this. And I am going to put this on this side of the panel. I'm going to grab my silicone mat, and I'm going to want my flowers to go in this tall vase. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to it. And then I'm going to just bring this over, put it right on top. And there we have our flowers added into that vase. The next vase, I'm going to put the other tall one right along its side. Then we're going to add some of the gold paper. Just dropped it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on it. I always think of using the adhesive sheets after I have cut it. It would make it so much easier. And then I'm going to take this and put it on the top. Have it go up to the top of the bowl and then trim off those extra pieces. There we go. And I'm going to use some dimensionals to put this on the front. And I'm also going to let me add the flowers first. I am also going to just add the flowers, the smaller bunch, like that, into the vase. So let's put a little bit of adhesive there. I'm just going to hold that in place for a second. And then the final thing I'm going to do is add some Wink of Stella to the small bit of flowers. There we go. So that's what the smaller bowl looks like, and I'm not sure if you can see the glitter on camera. So now this is going to get some dimensionals. Today was one of the prettiest days of summer, I think. We had no storms, the high humidity was gone, and the high humidity was gone, and there was a nice little breeze. It was only in the 70s. It was beautiful. Okay, so now that panel is done. So this is going to go onto, so when we fold this card, this piece is going to come down in the front. So I'm just going to reinforce those creases. There we go. I'm going to add adhesive to it. And I think for this, because we're going to need to use some tear and tape just to make sure it doesn't fall off or anything. So let me just put 2 little strips of that across the front. And we'll burnish it. And get those pieces off. There we go. And then I'm going to center this. This piece is going to fit right across the front of the card. So I am going to make sure that those ends are at the bottom of the card and the side. So there we have it. So if I open this up, that's what we have so far. It's pretty cool. I really love this card, and I can't believe I've never seen it before. Okay, next is going to be, where do we want the greeting to go? So let's see what I want to put. Let's do Time to Celebrate. So this is the piece that I got out of the set with the inspiring Imperfections. And then the label is from the Many Messages. And I wanted to put it on a piece of cardstock so that it has, since it's going to be keeping the card closed, I wanted it to have a little bit more, mass to it, a little bit more weight. Okay, so now I want this to go about here at the top, so I want this to go about here on the top. So what I'm going to do is open up the card, and I'm going to add my adhesive right to these pieces. So this is the open end of the mechanism. And I'm going to close them and center it here on the front of the card. I'm not going to put it down permanently yet. I want to see how this closes. Okay, that looks about right, so I'm going to press that down. And then we're going to add our adhesive and add this piece so it's nice and centered. That looks good. So now that piece is going to hold it shut, and I'm going to put these flowers just underneath that. Okay, so now what we need to do is add some bling. And I have here the gold and pink flat pearls, which I think are perfect for this. We'll add one right down here, and we'll put some of these up on the label. And there we have it for tonight's fun fold. Like I said, this is a fun fold I have never seen before. So again, it's called a Triptych gate fold, fun fold. It has the 3 panels on it. So when you stand it, this is a great card to display. You've got these really strong panels here and the card in the back. To close it, you just slide it under. Since I have the high flowers, I slide that under too. And then the card opens up in the back so that you have a place to write. And you can also put another piece of paper there if you need more. So what do you think about this? Do you love it? How many of you are going to try it? It is really fun. I had a lot of fun making it. I do need to mention that, like I said, I was looking around and found this fun fold. I did not create the actual fun fold. I found it from a Canadian demonstrator named Glinda Mullet, and I will be putting a link in the comments so that if you want to go see her original video, my card is very similar to hers, but you'll see that it's a little different as well. But I hope that you check her site out too so you can see what she made with it. And for next week, since you're here at the end of the video, you get to vote again on what stamp set we're going to use next week. So Cheers and Sips and Turtley Awesome both came in second in the voting. So I'm going to keep those up there, but I'm going to add 2 other sets. I'm going to add let me just get them down so that you can see them. I am going to add, let me just move that out of the way for a moment. Let's start with, where's my Turtley? So, Turtley Awesome will be one of the sets for a fun fold. The other one will be Cheers and Sips. This one we used in last week's fun fold. The new set to vote on is Coneflower Celebrations. This is a real fun one also. And then the last set to vote on is Gallery Blooms. So you get to choose the set. So either Turtley Awesome, Cheers and Sips, Coneflower Celebrations, or Gallery Blooms. So make sure you vote in the comments which one you want me to use next Friday, and I will create a fun fold with that set. So let's just review our fun fold for this week. It is a Triptych Gate Fold Fun Fold. And that's what it looks like when it's standing. Well, thank you so much for joining me on your Friday night on this beautiful summer day, and I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. Please come back Sunday night to see the third week of Perfectly Pairs, and we are going to be using the stamps in the designer series paper together this week, and then of course the fourth week will be fun folds. So thank you again for joining me. I'll see you Sunday night, and have a great weekend. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.